Hello and welcome back to the channel. This is a video that has been nearly a week in the making. I edit all the footage generally on the night I get home from work and try and get it uploaded on YouTube. I managed to get the video files onto my computer, but I was feeling rough as a dog. I'd been feeling rough as a dog all day, probably from Wednesday night. And yeah, so started Thursday morning. We had to move this Smart & Brown lathe from the opposite side of the unit into this side of the unit to free up a little bit of space next door because we've got a new grinding machine going in, or a new to us grinding machine. This Smart & Brown lathe here, this actually used to belong to Simon's granddad, and a few years ago Simon paid for it to be restored, and it hasn't really been used since. It's actually missing a nut off of the back of the compound slide, which needs to be sorted out. Also need to get some tooling to go with it. John said he's going to take me on a trip to RDG Tools to go and have a look there and see for some new toys to go onto this machine. But yeah, here I'm just giving it a clean up. It's been sat in a dirty environment. There's a rebuild plate of it in memory of Jeff Nicholson. But yeah, I'm just giving it a good clean up here, bringing it into my workspace, and getting it situated against the wall here. Got power outlet up on the wall for it. I actually need another power outlet putting in here because I didn't realise I was going to be getting a lathe here, so I've only got one in the corner for the milling machine. Also, that belonged to John's granddad. I restored that, just need to top up the fluids and get that wired up. But yeah, here it is in all its glory, looking really nice. Just going to take a quick trip next door and show you where we've moved it from. So, in fact, do that in a second. Here, these are the tool holders off of the welding tables. I've decided a little while ago that I was wanting to build a tool wall for all the welding tackle. These actually used to live underneath the welding tables. Now, if you were sat at a welding table, you couldn't really get your knees under in this corner. They also gathered a hell of a lot of dust and grime from on top of the welding, any dross dropping down off the welding table, general dust and dirt getting into all these tool bins and onto all the tool holders. So I've chucked up a piece of OSB on the side of the pallet rack in here, and I'm just screwing on all the holders, because one thing I found is that the holders do like to lift off. So once the holder's in place, I'm just running a self-tapping screw through the middle of that into the chipboard behind. It doesn't go through the steel, it just goes into the chipboard behind, and then I can hang all the tools up. And what that means is when I lift the tool off, I don't take the hook with it like I used to. I'm just having a little bit of a rough layout here, see how I like it. It will probably progress whilst I get to using this. And I'm just putting up all the small fireball welding squares. Now these things are cracking. They're little cast iron welding squares which allow you to clamp up your work pieces and get them nice and rigid for welding. These are the small version. I'm going to move the big versions onto the floor underneath all this racking in just a second, purely because I don't want them falling off. Now, on the Fireball Tools video, they actually show you a drop test on these, and they dropped them countless times to see if they could break them. And it was a lot of drops before they managed to actually break these. They are cast iron, so they are fragile, and dropping them from a height several times on sharp edges, it will cause them to break, but they're fantastic bits of kit. They are quite expensive though. Oh, excuse me. So where this table is here, this is where the Smart & Brown lathe was. Still feeling it. We had to move the lathe out through that roller shutter door there, and over by that door was this big green, lovely surface grinder. This tool grinder here was on John's bench. The table was where the surface grinder is, and we've moved the hacksaw and the other tool grinder into a nice location. And now coming back round to my area, I've screwed a piece of steel up onto my wall here. This is actually the rear cab sheet off of the Scamp that I rebuilt last year. It was just left in my scrap bin really, so repurposed it, flattened it all out, screwed it to my wall, and I'm using it to stick all my welding magnets up. Just a quick blow off with compressed air here, just to get rid of all the metal swarf. You can actually see a lovely furry one just I'm picking up there, really furry from all the grinding swarf, but a good shot of compressed air will blow all that swarf off. And yeah, do like to try and keep them as clean as possible, and put them up on the wall out of the way. Not going to stick to anything I don't want to stick to. So also underneath this section of racking here, we have got both the welders. So we've got a MIG welder, and a big old TIG welder next to it. We are looking at upgrading the TIG welder to a newer model sometime this year. I'm also going to be building a cart for our plasma cutter that we've got, so it'll all live under here. All the power sockets are up on the wall, ready to power these beasts up for whenever we need them. Now, just getting all the welding tackle in one area, it enables me to clean out the underneath of the tables because they were getting pretty messy. I've just had lots of projects on the go, all in a short period of time, really. And it's nice to be able to get towards the end of a project and clean up, reorganise the workspace. So I've taken this opportunity on Thursday morning to just move things around, get things looking a lot tidier, clean up all my tools. Because, yeah, as I say, coming to the end of the project, getting myself geared up, ready for the next project. So, switching on the vacuum, I can clean out all the crud that was gathering underneath these workbenches. Now, with this used to have a horizontal shelf as well as the vertical tool wall, which prevented it from being really accessible. And it was just gathering more and more junk underneath. So, yeah, good hoover out, get some nice and clean, and, yeah, ready for the next project. Okay, so now I'm going to get on to sorting out the injectors on the Romulus. I've been putting off all day really getting into this, so yeah, just spinning these up on the wire wheel, it's going to clean off all the grime on the outside and all the unwanted paint. Now, they were painted red. I don't like red injectors, so I want to paint these black. So after I've tested them, I'm going to be painting them up. But yeah, just a quick spin up on the wire wheel. It really fantastic for removing all the old paint, and it gets into all the little nooks and crannies. And then disassemble everything, just going to blow it all out to get rid of any crud. Now, I spotted earlier there was a little bit of something in one of these injectors. It's almost like a plastic worm. It was a weird thing to have inside an injector. But yeah, good blowout, gets rid of all the dust from me cleaning them. And then I plug them into the test apparatus here. John and I put this rig together. Predominantly John. I built the trolley that it lives on. It's a boiler that John managed to get from Martin, and it's actually been extended by nearly 9 inches on the top end by his mate Eric. And it's fantastic for testing injectors. We have everything up to half inch Pemberthes on this, so it'll test everything. And we did quite a lot of testing prior to me turning the camera on. And here we are just testing the low range of it. So seeing how low it can go. As you can see there, it's around at 55. A little bit of a drip so we can trim the water. So we're looking at how low these injectors can go. So we've already tested them up at 100 psi, which is the operating pressure. We even took them up to nearly 130 psi because this rig will actually do 200 psi. So we can test the full range of these injectors, and they'll have a nice sweet spot in the middle. But yeah, we stick it on here and see how low it'll go. On the corner of the test rig there's actually a red injector still. That is a spare injector. I've managed to find a third injector just in case for this locomotive. So I've already got one on standby should I be encountering any troubles with regards to the steam test. But we tested both injectors on the rig, made sure they both inject well, and they really do. Yeah, the cracking injectors. We've tested them with and without the overflow pipes on, because that can sometimes affect things. The overflow pipes sometimes change the sound they make, so everyone likes a little bit of a chirping injector. And these are really slow chirp, which is really positive to see that they're not really sucking a lot of air. So yeah, the joy of a rig like this is we are able to play around with injectors all the time. We can change the size of the valve, to change the size of the pipe, to change the temperature of the water. We've done it before where we've injected the water straight into the tank, so it's recirculating its own water. Able to inject on some of John Holroyd's injectors. They're injecting at nearly 50 degrees C, which is phenomenal. And this rig is really good. It has a couple of modes, which I'll go through in a second, because you can't constantly keep injecting water into the boiler, because before you know it, you're going to lose all the pressure in your boiler and end up with too much water in there. Excuse me. And yeah, this is just coming down now to the sort of pressure where it's starting to shut off the injector. So yeah, we're down to around about 35 psi here. It's getting really quite wet, so I'm trying to trim the water nice and gently. and then we just end up with a load of steam. So I shut off the water too much, really. So I'm going to re-engage the water, try and re-engage the steam nice and slow. It's picking up a little bit, but yeah, it's gone beyond what it's capable of now. Yeah, so that pretty much concludes all the testing that we're carrying out on these injectors. We know that they work. We know that they're clean. We know that they're ready to go on the engine, and it should be a successful testing when we come to it. So here we've got the quick run through. We've got a steam valve here, which pipe leads into the injector. We're able to do that. We've got a water valve, which connects through a pipe onto the bottom of the injector. And then in this blue tank here, there's actually a water cistern. So a toilet cistern, and I've plumbed it in so it runs off the mains, and we constantly keep the tank filled up. We have got some of our big injectors. We just run them straight off the hose pipe because they take so much water on. But yeah, here we've got a three-way valve, so we're able to inject through a valve, which will give us a pressure reading, and then it actually evacuates that outside through a pipe that goes out under the roller shutter. We can turn the valve to another direction, which will then take our water feed straight into the boiler that we're operating, which is on a gas cooker ring, which runs off an LPG bottle. But yeah, cracking bit of kit, really helps us test things with a little bit of comfort, really, because we're able to turn the gas off if we're unable to inject. We're a lot more time to sort our injectors. And that really brings us on to the finishing touches for the injectors. So here I'm just masking them off prior to paint. I'm not going to paint them on camera. It's just a simple quick paint job. I'm just using some high temperature engine enamel. Just a nice matte black finish. Should finish them off nicely. So I'm just taping off, making sure there's no way for any paint to get into any of the apertures, and painted on a piece of wire here so I can hang them up to paint. That way I'm not spray painting my fingernails like I normally do. Yeah, nice and easy job. Once they're all painted, I can demask them, which is a quick and simple task. It's a little bit more awkward on the copper pipe on the bottom because I've wrapped it around a little bit snugly, and they're a little bit more awkward to peel off copper for some reason. But yeah, I get both of them unpeeled and bolted back onto the engine. Now, it's taken me quite a while to get to this stage. Yeah, the injector's going on here. This is now ready for a test steam. I had every intention of trying to get in over the weekend and test steam it while it was quiet. So basically, free run of the car park, free run of the building, and get some nice video of this running. But unfortunately, I've been poorly. Been absolutely dying all weekend. Every day seems like I've got a different symptom. I'm currently at the expectorant coughing stage. I'm coming to the end of it now, I think. But yeah, it's taken me God knows how many attempts to start this audio that I'm putting on now. The narration, I've coughed a few times in it. I apologise if that's busted eardrums or anything like that. Now, I am hoping to get into work tomorrow, should I be feeling better. Fingers crossed that I am. I'm a bit sick of this laying in bed lark. I've been feeling much better today. Just the coughing that I've got to control. But yeah, hopefully get firing this over the next couple of days. Get some nice video. Get a video made and get it out to you guys. I know you've been waiting patiently for the end of this, really, and also looking forward to my next project. But as ever, thank you very much for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.